over my last 2 years in this role about that. So my name is Justin Campbell. I'm a solution engineer here at ApprovalMax. My colleague James Lynn was meant to join me today. It was going to be more conversational, but he's lost his voice. So unfortunately, he's not here today. So you'll just have me, but feel free to put things in the chat and in the Q&A section, and we can have a chat throughout. So let's to warm things up, let's start with a bit of a poll. Um, let's start with a bit of a poll. So, what is the biggest challenge your team faces with approvals in budget management? So, just some thoughts here. We've got delays to manual approval processes, lack of visibility into project spend, difficulty staying within budget, compliance and audit issues. So, if you've got any thoughts on that, maybe put that in the chat. Uh, we've got we okay. We've got one. So, question is, can we create a budget in Approval Max? So that is actually one of the things we're going to cover today. So it's good you've come along to the webinar. Yeah, so look, honestly, some of the most common things we come across are really the lack of visibility in project spend, and just the difficulties to keep costs under control. This is one of the biggest things we have, and of course, just the general need for compliance and audit trails as well. All right, so second question is, how would you describe your current approval process? Is it fully automated and streamlined? You might already be using, say, HubDoc that comes free with Xero, or you might be using the email to bills function in Xero. You might have some automation, but you might be sending a lot of emails back and forth and managing things in spreadsheets as well. So it might be a bit of a mix. There's also a lot of companies that are doing things very manually. I spoke with someone in the last couple of days who was literally printing things out and stamping them and putting them in a in tray before the accounts payable person, which is not that uncommon at all. So a lot of people are still doing paper-based systems, and then there's a lot of companies that are still thinking about having a more formal process as well. So today we are going to use what is actually an amalgamation of the different companies that I've spoken to over the last 2 years, and we've created a fictional company, Urban Development Limited, but the actual sort of like stories and examples are drawn from real life. So this company is a mid-sized property development company specializing in residential and commercial real estate projects. The company manages multiple construction projects simultaneously, dealing with hundreds of invoices, purchase orders, and approval workflows every month. So we've got three people who we're going to follow in this demo. We've got what's his name? I've forgotten his name. We've got John. We've got John, who's our accounts payable person. We've got Sally, who's our project lead, and we have Mark, who's our CFO or group finance lead. So we're going to look at it from multiple points of view. From the point of view of the accounts payable person who has to get everything approved and paid, from the project manager who has to keep costs under control and has to approve things, and our finance manager whose role it is to make sure the company's doing all the reporting that they needs to be doing, and is kept looking at things at a higher level in terms of the company's cash flow and all of that kind of thing. So Urban Development Limited At the moment, they have a manual time-consuming approval workflows. Invoice have to be manually reviewed by multiple stakeholders. It can lead to delays in project execution. They have a lack of visibility over their spending on their projects. Um, and it's difficult to track. There's also the risk of entering in duplicates and having overpayments. And the difficulty of managing multiple projects where they're geographically diverse and not everyone's in the office. Often the getting out a laptop computer isn't easy, so needing to be able to do things on the go on a mobile device is very important. So we're going to deal with all of that today. So let's meet our first person. We're going to meet John, who's our accounts payable person. So his top three challenges are that at the moment he's entering bills in manually into Zero. He's he spends a lot of time chasing his approvers, chasing Sally and Sally's colleagues, the other project managers, um, to get things approved. And there's always the risk of deadlines being missed because it takes too long to get things approved. And sometimes when supplies are needed or a purchase order needs to be delivered, needs to be um, ordered and received, it's taking too long for that to work through the system, resulting in problems for the business. So let's talk about data entry first of all. So a big problem that he has, he's got sort of a centralized way of doing it. So things are being emailed to him. Sometimes it's even paper that's coming to him, and he's manually entering that into Zero. So he's got a difficult time sourcing documents from other parts of the business. And then also there's a lot of manual data entry. So that's one thing we're going to help John with today. So one way we can help him with on this is through ApprovalMax capture. So we have the ability for you to email bills into ApprovalMax and we'll do the auto extraction and we can actually extract all the line item information of a bill for you as well. But we can also set people up with their user account so that they can upload things and send it to John. For example, on the ApprovalMax mobile app, someone can take a photo of a paper receipt and then that will be sent to John for review. And that's my next point is that we can set up John as a reviewer, having a review step before things get to approval. And the other big thing is that chasing approvals. So we have an ability to set up deadlines when you're doing your approvals. So that way you've got you can say I want someone to receive a reminder if they haven't approved something within 24 hours or 2 days, however you want to do it. That's very, very important. Another thing this is if you're an existing ApprovalMax customer, you may not know about this. We just released a nudge feature. So um, if something if something needs to be hurried up, you can actually after 24 hours you can nudge someone to approve it as well. So the combination of having those deadlines and the nudges is very important. All right, so before we go on to Sally, I'll just jump into ApprovalMax and show you some of those things that we just went through. There we go. All right, so when I jump into ApprovalMax, um, so the first thing I talked about before was the ability to automate your data entry. So when you're setting up your approval workflows in um in ApprovalMax, you've got several ways of getting a bill into ApprovalMax. One way is you can just enter it into Zero and put it to awaiting approval. Another way is we can come in here and set Sally up as a requester. So we can set Sally up with the ability so she could do it either from a computer or on a mobile device, and we could even limit her to her particular projects as well. And we can also limit her to the account codes that we want her to be able to select from as well. So we can do all kinds of things to make Sally's job easier. That's one way of doing it. Another way is that every ApprovalMax file has a unique email address, and you can email things into ApprovalMax, and we'll do the auto extraction. We'll get all the line item information and everything, and then we'll send it to this review step here. So you can see here that it's going to that's meant to go to John actually. So it's meant to go from so it goes from however it's entered to John for review. John can check that the tracking categories, it's assigned to the right project. It's got the right account codes, every everywhere in there, and and then he can send it to approval. So it would go from John to Sally, and then if it's potentially certain criteria, like for example, we could come in here and let's say Mark, the finance head of finance, anything over 10, well, anything over 10,000, he needs to approve. So let's put that in and done. So, and we had a question in the chat about the deadlines. So the deadlines, it's just this little clock here. So you can put in the clock, and you can do it either based on the submission or the approval. So basically, submission is when it was submitted, and then the approval is based on how after its last approval. So, for example, under Mark, we give him a deadline. He's got 2 days after it's been approved by Sally to get the approval done before he starts getting a reminder. And then let's say he still hasn't done it, or you need it done early. That's where the nudge functionality comes in. So I don't actually have a nudge ready to demo here, but if I go back to my slides, it just looks like this when you go to an approval, and you can if it's over 24 hours, you can click on that and nudge the approvers in that step. Okay, so now there was another question here. When you email through the invoice does it automatically match with the PO created? No, so that's a different step. We're going to talk about that in a second. That's our bill to purchase order matching. All right, so let's now jump back to the slides and talk about Sally. Oh, I'm sorry, clicked on the wrong button there. All right, so Sally's top three issues are having time to approve bills and purchase orders. And the way we can help her with that is by making it super easy, ensuring goods have been received before the bill gets approved and paid, and having visibility over budgets. So let's talk about each of those. So we make it really easy to be able to submit purchase orders, and in effect they kind of function as a purchase request as well, because you can set people up with the ability to create a purchase order, and then they can go to review and go to approval before they get sent to the supplier. So you can either create them on your mobile device or on your desktop. Um, and then you can another way we make it easy is for approving bills and purchase orders is that we have emails that get sent out. So we send your approvers an email, and they can either approve or reject from the inbox. So we really appeal to all different kind of users. You've got the really busy person who's always on their phone, and then they can come in and approve or reject on their phone, and they can leave comments as well. But then you've got the person who might prefer to work from inside their inbox, and that's where you can do the email approvals. And then we had the question about the bill to purchase order matching. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do an end to end of creating a bill and then creating a purchase order, approving it, and then matching it to the bill. So let's do that now, and we'll also do budget checking, demo the budget checking functionality when we're doing that. So we had a question earlier: can you bring in your budgets from zero? Yes, you can. You can bring in your budget, and so when you're approving bills or purchase orders, it will tell you how much you have remaining in that budget against that account code. And if you've got different budgets for different tracking categories in Zero, we can also bring in multiple budgets as well. So if you've got all your projects set up as different tracking categories and you want to have different budgets for each one, we can do that. We can do that as well. And you can also see the state. So if you've got purchase orders in the pipeline or bills in the pipeline, that will deduct from the budget and you can see what's been approved, what hasn't been approved. And we're gonna demo all that now. All right, so I'm going to jump into Zero and we'll update that. All right, so first thing we'll do is we'll enter this purchase order. But keep in mind you can do this on the phone as well. I'll just check the chat. Um, what if it's the same account code but different budgets to that account? Yeah, so that gets determined by tracking category, basically. Um, you can have multiple budgets. In my example, I only have one budget, but you don't have to do it that way. All right, so we're going to go and enter in. We're going to go and enter in this purchase order. So we'll go Boom FN. We'll do the delivery date, and we'll pick some items, some golf balls. And there's a feature in here as well. You can actually bulk update things. So you can go edit selected and you can go to purchases. You can choose your tax code and we'll put it all to project one and put it to the North region, save. And I can also tick whether or not I want this to be sent to the supplier once it's been approved. And if I need to send things to the supplier, for example, maybe they have an order form or something like that, I can attach it here, down here. So this is for you attaching things for your records, and this is for the supplier down here. All right, and then you can also choose your branding theme. If you have multiple branding themes in Zero, you can do that. So we'll go submit. All right, and now that's come through to me for approval. So so when you're approving something, it comes through in different with all the different line items and so you can see all the details here, and you'll notice I've got the budget. So because I've got an amount in the budget against the purchase account, I can see I have a remaining budget of $931, and this is 49.20. And if I click on this here, I can see the breakdown of that budget. I can see at the moment I've spent 57 in bills, and I have this amount remaining, and we can now and if I've got any questions about something, I can use the @ symbol to mention people. So I can bring them in. If I want somebody to have visibility over this particular request, I can click on, oh, sorry, that's version history. I click on this one here, go add, and then put it in. And I can add in other users in here. And if I need to put it on hold, I can put things on a hold here as well. Now, let's say I want to add in another approver on this one. I can do that manually here as well. So I've got a lot of options. So I'm going to approve this purchase order, and this is a two-step approval process. I'm also acting as the finance manager, so I'll approve that as well. Now, once a purchase order's been approved in ApprovalMax, if you have goods received notes turned on, you'll see this pop up on it, and you can actually update the goods received note on the mobile app as well. So you can go into the purchase order and you can go update status, and you can go choose fully received or partially received. But I'm going to choose go fully received, and you can leave a comment and attach files as well. You could even take a photo on the mobile app. So if you want to actually take a photo of the goods, you could do that as well. So go update, and that's now been fully received, and you'll see why that's useful in a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reload this screen. I'll also show you the email notification I received as well. Um, so I, so this is what the email notifications look like. They come through like this, and I can go approve, reject, all of that. And so back to here. All right, so that purchase order's now been approved. Now, if I were to open that in Zero, I can see that it's been approved and it's been sent. So that ApprovalMax tells Zero to approve it and send it. All right, and now we can go back to the purchase order, and what I want to do is copy it to a bill. So I'll go copy to bill, and generally when you're doing purchase orders, I find this is the quickest way to get your bills in, is to just copy the purchase order or bill, and then you just need to upload the bill and double check that it is correct, and then also put in the reference number from the bill because you won't have that. So we'll go and then we'll enter that bill. We'll go submit for approval. Okay, so that is now on the review step with me. So it's in review. And at the review step, I can go match with PO. So you could either decide to have your approvers do the matching or your reviewers do the matching. It's up to you. Go match with PO. And what this will do is it'll open up all the purchase orders for that supplier that are still open. It'll bring them up. And in this case, I only have the one purchase order. But but I've got the bill here, and what I can do is I can tick the purchase order, and I can go insert 5412. And so you might have a situation where you've got one big purchase order. This comes up a lot in the construction industry, where at the beginning of a project for that supply, they create one big purchase order. And then throughout the project, they assign the bills to it. Um, and it's almost like they're using it like a kind of another level of budgeting. So and you can see in this case I have $0 remaining. Um, yeah, so I'll go save. But very importantly, notice that you can see when you do your matching, you can see the goods received note status. So you probably want to check the goods received note status before you do the matching and approve the payment of the bill. Because let's say that was not fully received. What you could do then is close out of this and then go and put this on hold. For Go and put it on hold. So that way you're waiting until something's been approved, until that it's been received and everything until it's good. All right, now we'll go submit for approval, and now we just need to approve it. And again, you can see our budget has been updated, and we can see all of that in here. And we'll go approve. and approve. Okay, so that we've now done, we've now created a purchase order, marked the goods as received, matched it to a bill, matched it to a bill. What you can also do is go back to the purchase order and mark it as billed. And we do have a setting that automates this and links it to when you're doing the purchase order matching. So what marking something as billed will do will change the status of the purchase order in zero. So at the moment it's improved. It hasn't flowed through yet. But if I reload this in a second, um, in the next minute or so, it'll move it from approved to billed. It's effectively the same as clicking this button here. All right, now what we can do is now jump back to our slides and we will talk about Mark, who's our finance manager. So Mark had his top three challenges are visibility on what's on approval and what's been approved. So he wants that high level of visibility. And um, and then he also wants making accounting. He also wants to be able to make changes before approving bills. And then he also wants to be able to approve things in batches. He doesn't want to approve individual bills, but he wants to approve the payment of the bills in a batch at the end of the job. So one of the ways we can help Mark is building a request report. Building a request for report. So I'll jump out now and I'll show you how you do that. So you can go into ApprovalMax, and if you scroll down the screen on the menu here and you go to request reports, what you can do, we've already put some in here, so you can say bring up like bills that have been approved this month. And you can actually come into the report settings and you can actually choose what columns you want to be visible. So there's a whole bunch of different columns that you can make available. And and you can actually rearrange these as well. So you can basically build the report you need. And very importantly, you can filter them. So if you want to build a report for a specific supplier, a specific project, see how I've got the project here. Like let's say I just want to do project one, save. Um, I clicked the wrong project then. And then you could go save as and save that as a report. But you can also click on this little clock here and schedule the report. So you can put in the email address you want it sent to, how frequently you want it generated and send it through. So that gives Mark a really high level visibility over what's been approved, what hasn't been, the different requests. So that's a very powerful functionality that you can have. Um, the other thing Mark really wants to do is this was a really common request from our customers that things would go all the way through the different approvals it needed to go to the finance manager, and then they'd realize something needs to be fixed in terms of like the accounting treatment or the tracking category or something like that. So what you can do if you're on our advanced or premium plan, you can go into your approval workflows. And now when you set up approvals, you can you can go in here and go, for example, Sally. You can choose what field Sally is able to edit. So Sally can perhaps go and edit the account code. Go save. And then what we can do is under Mark, we can come in here and we can give him the ability to edit tax projects, whole bunch of things. So you've got that flexibility. And then we have version histories as well. So if either Sally or Mark does make a change, that will be captured. That will be captured in the version history. So on a bill, sorry, go update. On a on there we go. On a bill, you've got this little icon here, and that's where you can see any version changes that get made. All right. Now we'll jump back into our slides and we'll talk about batch payments. So, a really common thing we encounter is that senior management don't want to have to approve individual bills, but they do want sign off over payment of bills, and that's where your batch payment approvals come in. And so this is a separate workflow from the bill approval, and it's part of our premium plan. So you can go in and you can go and set up batch payment workflows. And so you can have a step who can create the batch and who can do the approving, and you can make different rules for different bank accounts or specific rules for paying certain suppliers. You've got a lot of choice here. And you can also give your approver the ability to remove lines from the batch. So in other words, they can remove specific bills from the batch if they don't want to pay a particular bill at that time. So what we'll go and do now, we'll go and create the batch. Okay, did I? Hmm. Just double checking that you can still see my screen. Okay, that's all good. Okay, great. Okay, so we'll pick today. We'll pick the bank account and we'll go add bills and we'll pick the oh, thank you for letting me know. It didn't have any indicator that it was sharing my screen. I just got nervous for a second then that I've been doing a whole demo not sharing my screen. All right, so this is that bill I created before. Actually, let me just go and approve a couple more bills. Um, uh, just so we've got more than one bill in the batch. So I'll submit this for approval. And we'll approve, 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 approve. Okay, that's done now, and let's go and do the batch just so it's better if there's more than one in the batch. It's more real to life. So go payment details, choose the bank account. Okay, that hasn't flowed through yet. I'll just do it with this one. We'll go submit. And so that's all the person creating the request needs to do is pick the bills that they want in it, and it'll just pick the ones that are awaiting approval, waiting payment. And the approver can see the list of bills in here, and they can click on the individual bills and look at them in a side-by-side view in here. Um, and if they got any questions about it, they can leave a comment, or they can even say, they can even remove, um, they can even remove individual bills. So they click on the edit button and remove the bills that they don't want included. And then they hit approve. Now it once it's approved. By the way, when the approved box is grayed out like that, that means it's been approved in ApprovalMax, but we haven't updated it in Xero yet. But one that only usually takes a couple seconds. At worst, like maybe 30 seconds. So once it's approved, there's an audit report that gets generated, and if you open it in Zero, you can then export out the batch file, upload it to your bank, and send remittance advice. And then the last thing you would do is once you've uploaded the batch, that would then come through on your bank feed, and you'd match them. It'd light up green, and you'd match, and then the whole thing would be reconciled, and you've fully paid the bills. Um, all right, so that is batch payments. All right, now there was a question in the chat, so let me bring that in so I can see it. Okay, can we save upload bank verification document proof bank account somewhere on ApprovalMax? Okay, uh, right. Okay, so um, if it, so what one thing we do is we have a contact approvals functionality where so if we go in the approval workflows, there's a contact approval, and one of the things you can do with this is you can actually, when you're creating a new supply, you can put in the bank details, and as part of that approval process of approving a new contact would be checking that the bank account details are correct, checking the TFN, checking the checking all of the ABN numbers are correct, and do all of that. So you wouldn't approve something to be a supplier on the list until it's been approved. Now, for updating bank details, we don't have an actual workflow for that. Um, but what you can do is you can build a standalone workflow for bank details. And that could then go through an approval process of updating the, it won't push it through to Zero, so you'd have to go into the contact in Zero and manually update it, but at least you've got a documented audit trail that you followed a formal process of updating your bank details, and you can attach things to that. So if you any documents you need to attach, you can you can you can attach things. And the other thing that we're going to do, which we don't do quite at the moment, but we are planning on doing, is that if an invoice comes through and it's got new bank account details, so it'll tell you whether or not the bank account details on the invoice match the bank account details you have on file. So we don't currently do that, but there are plans to add that to ApprovalMax Capture in a future update. Um, so there was a question, can we pull a remittance advice from here and send to a contract? No, you'll need to do that in Zero. So you click on that link, open in Zero, and then with your batch file, and from Zero, you can click on your send remittance advice um, in here. But we don't actually do that from Approval Max as well. Yeah. So, all right. So let's sort of summarize. So what we've kind of gone through today is we've looked at John, who's in accounts payable, how we can help him with Approval Max Capture, with the review step, with helping him chase up approvers. We've also talked about how we can help Sally with the bill to purchase order matching, the budget checking, having the goods received note functionality, plus also the mobile functionality of being able to approve things on her mobile device. And then we've talked about Mark, about his need for visibility and making and the ability to make little accounting changes right at the end of the approval process, as well as also approving batch payments. So yeah, these are some of the most common things that we encounter in the with the building and construction industry, and just sort of repeating about the purchase orders. One of the most common questions I ask to companies is, are you currently using purchase orders? And then they say, oh, maybe a little, or no, we're not, but we'd like to. So by implementing Approval Max and making it easy for people to raise a purchase order, that's a really important cost control that we can um, help you implement. Okay, we had another question here. Can you split invoices in Approval Max, or does this need to be done once it's brought into zero? So when you say splitting them, so let me so they'd come. Let's say you're entering in an invoice, or you've entered in an invoice. Or let's copy one. So we'll go to one of the approval ones and we'll copy it. What you could do is you can you can clone line items. So let's say you've got to split a line item between your different projects. We'll go clone selected, and then you could easily then just split it that way. But let's say you actually want to turn it into two different invoices. Well, what you could do is you could delete certain line items, and then make a copy of it, and then you'd probably just need to put a note in the comment area to explaining why you did that. Um, why you did that, why you only did a partial. I'm guessing in some cases you might have more than one zero file and you want to split an invoice between two different files. So yeah, you could upload it to both and then um, only allocate some of it to one, and then you just need to put something in the audit trail to explain why you've done that. Yeah, so that's how you could do it. Um, that actually probably goes into another related thing of inter-entity transactions. So this could be okay. The follow up was more about splitting a line entry over multiple projects. Yeah, that's really easy to do. You just clone the line and then you just split the amount between the two different projects. That's yeah, that's not hard to do at all. It's just basically the same as zero, except for I think our ability to clone lines is a little bit better than what zero does. Um, the Now with the just I didn't actually include this in the webinar, but I'll just touch on it now briefly. Is you can do approvals for manual journals as well. So if you have processes where you're doing a manual journal, you could have an approval process for those as well, and then you can also do easily create the reversal for that journal, and that might be something that you'd encounter a fair bit as well. I probably should have actually included that in the slides. Now, last thing to touch on. Oh well, we were going to put this in the poll, but we can't now. But we were going to ask if you're interested in learning more. Maybe just type it in the chat if you're interested in learning more about Approval Max. But either way, we'll reach out, and then you can just let us know if you'd like to have more of a chat with us, and then yeah, we can go from there. So I've got questions at the end, but I've kind of been answering your questions throughout. So we've kind of I think I've answered them all. I guess just one last thing. If you're not currently on Approval Max, we do have a 14-day trial. So you can just go to approvalmax.com and sign up to that trial there. And and you can set up multiple of your entities to a trial as well, and you also can try out Approval Max capture. So you get 100 documents in 100 documents for Approval Max capture as well. So I think with um, Oh, okay. There's another question. Can you split? You can split. Can you split against two different POs? Yes, absolutely you can. So that's a really common scenario. Uh, or there might be a case where the bill comes in and it's more than what was originally because perhaps costs have gone up or so on. So a common way of handling that is you actually raise a second PO for the overrun, and then you can match a bill to more than one PO. So it goes both ways. Um, you can match multiple bills to a single PO, but you can also match bills. You can match what you can match do it the other way around. Yeah, it goes either way. So it's very flexible in that way, and it's probably one of the most useful features we have that really adds a lot of extra functionality over what you get natively in Zero. And sort of the way people use the builder purchase order matching um, often functions almost more as almost like a budgeting tool in a lot of cases, what I see people do. So yeah, it's a really powerful way of kind of getting control over what you're spending and having really good processes around all of that. Um, Thank you, Jeet. That's very nice of you to say. But I think we're all out of questions, so I might wrap up because I think we were scheduled to go for 45 minutes. So we've recorded this, so we can send you the recording, and we'll be in contact if you wanna hear more. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.